Hey Fruit Faces, it is KlaireeBerry here today to talk about global greenhouse emissions. There's a lot of debate about this. Obviously, it's a super hot topic. You have people on the right who deny climate change is caused by man altogether, which I think is pretty silly to just discount all of it, even if you do have statistics saying, okay, the sun is warming up, etc. I mean, if it's warming up by the sun, then why would we still want to be contributing to any extra greenhouse gases than we need to? And the fact is that animal agriculture is absolutely devastating, not just for greenhouse gases, but for all of the earth, land, air. If you're looking at our freshwater drinking supply, the oceans, biodiversity, plants and animals, being able to use the land, the soil, horrific for that. It's bad for people to live near these places. The waste that comes out of them, the antibiotics, the pharmaceuticals that are used, the chemicals that are used, the extra chemicals, pesticides that are used. I know the tanneries use a lot of chemicals. Like the animal agriculture industry is horrible. So that's the first thing. When you see these propagandas from these ex-vegans, from these ketoids, I like to call them. Can we please get this hashtag on ketoids coming? Because I feel like the keto people are only, if they did not have steroids, they would not have a movement. You know what I mean? What do you think about that? Let me know what you think. But these ketoids just think that, and these ex-vegans, and these carnivores, and these carnists, sorry, my cat was coming in and out. They just want to take these differing statistics and say, look, vegans are just full of shit completely, by looking at slight differences in measurements. And as I'm going to show you, they're spinning it. They're using these supposed differences in levels to try to spin and discredit vegans. They know what they're doing. They're full of shit, and I'm here to speak out about it. So again, the first issue is that they're just talking about greenhouse gases, when in reality, other things are also equally as pressing. We need fresh water. For those who don't know, we're running out of aquifer water, we're running out of fresh water, and with the population increase, that we're seeing, we're not going to be able to sustain this. Meat and dairy is unsustainable, especially when you take people like this who are oftentimes promoting grass-fed beef. That is the absolute worst. It may be slightly better for your health. I've done videos on this in the past. Overall, it's still just about as bad for you as any other meat and dairy, but it's definitely worse for the earth. So let's just jump right into this. There's differing reports, obviously. There's a UN report, there's an EPA report, and there's different, more independent scientific research. So right off the top of your head, are you gonna go with the government? Are you really gonna go with the government? Especially, it's funny because these types of people, they are such fucking cherry pickers. They want to deny that. On one hand, they'll say, look at the government. The government is trying to get us to eat, what is it, 60, 70, whatever percent carbs that they try to say, at least 50, right? They try to say, oh, the government's lying. They want us to be sick. Look at this. They're trying to get us to eat all these carbs. They're full of shit. They're liars. They're conspiracy. We can't listen to this. It's the global elite, the Illuminati, the New World Order, blah, 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 blah. But then when they think that they have something, and again, I don't know if they're actually evil and, paid shills or whatever, or if they're just stupid. No, if they're just being ignorant and not actually reading the labels, reading the studies, figuring out what the real deal is. But why would you go and trust the EPA when you obviously don't trust the rest of the government? And there are, the EPA obviously is not the same sector as the FDA, but it is the government. And, what the higher ups in the government say goes. So the FDA obviously has a huge conflict of interest trying to look after the safety and the financial aspects. That I've said for decades now should not be the way that it is. They can't realistically and unbiasedly they can't look at these things in an unbiased way and protect both the consumers for their health and the agriculture, animal agriculture for the money sector. Because really, when it comes down to it, money's going to be their bottom line, because the people aren't paying the government with the lobbyists and all of that to keep them healthy. They're just not. But guess who is paying? The meat and dairy industry is lobbying the hell out of the government. That's why we have billions of dollars going into subsidies. So when you have billions of dollars going into subsidies, yada, 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 when you're having milk in such a surplus where they're dumping it out and wasting it, they have a financial vested interest. The government has a vested interest in us all, eating meat and dairy and supporting that industry, okay? Things are obviously changing, but they're still getting lots and lots of subsidies. So let's get straight into this here, shall we? What you have on one hand, you have the UN report that says, and this was done in 2006, the UN report actually says that cattle rearing generates more global warming greenhouse gases as measured in CO2 than transport. It says that. You can look it up. I'll show you here where it says that. They also talk about how water, cattle is a major source of land and water degradation and all of this other stuff that are definitely aspects that need to be brought up anytime you're talking about environmentalism. Okay, so the one thing you want to look at when you're looking at this mainly is the types of the greenhouse gases that are used. Now, before I get into that, I also do want to mention that the types of calculations obviously are going to be off because they're looking at different things. They're not, some of these reports are taking into consideration the land that is being cut. And when you get the figures like 51%, they're looking at the actual land, like they're calculating in their figures the fact that the land is being devastated and the rainforests are being cut down for animal agriculture. That's all included. The EPA report is just looking at financial sectors, outputs, period. Okay, so that's a huge difference that we have to keep in mind. And you're not only thinking about the land that's been cut down. Obviously that's going to affect the levels because the plants can't take care of and neutralize the CO2 if they're not there. So that's going to mess up the levels. It's not just about the output. Do we understand? That's something that, again, all vegans should know to dispute these ketoids and everybody. They're two different calculations. So it's not that vegans are changing the stats or lying or just coming up with something completely different. They're using a totally different formula calculation and including different factors. Okay. And then also you have other issues, that come into this, that a simple report based on reported output, is, in the financial sectors is not going to take into consideration, because when you're processing meat and dairy, you have on one hand, you have to house these animals, you have to heat these animals, and then you have to consider all of the extra transportation, electricity, building. It all adds extra to what you're going to see in the EPA report because of all of the extra transportation that needs to be done, all of the extra heating that needs to keep these animals warm or cool, all of the water usage, and all of everything that goes into this. And then not only that, just raising the cattle, then you've got to ship them because they don't kill them and process them and slaughter them in the same place that they grow them, obviously. They have to transport them, so then you have added transportation. So portions of these other sectors are actually added, and it's large percentages too that are added. And so you can't really just take a solid number and be like, oh, that's, of these EPA reports and say that that's it. And a lot of times they are shipped all the way overseas. So again, you have extra transportation costs, extra, all of these other different costs. And it just really adds up. And you can't deny that it's completely inefficient. Fucking-efficient. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So, and not only that, but the land, that we do have for farmland could grow so much more food and feed a lot of starving people. Pounds of food, the calories that you can get from land, vegan style, is way more than you can get by letting a cow eat the grass and then eating the cow after you ship it, 12 different places to be processed, chemical treated, get your tax breaks offshores and all of this. So, okay, moving on to the types of the greenhouse gases. So, and I'm looking again at the UN report, still from 2006. I keep saying it that way. That's weird. But anyway, it says when emissions from land use and land use change are included. So again, this is not a figure that you're going to see in looking at the EPA report. It says livestock accounts for 9% of CO2 deriving from human activities, okay? The issue is it produces a much larger share of even more harmful greenhouse gases. CO2 is not even the worst greenhouse gas. Not even close. 65% of nitric oxide is from animal agriculture. 65%, guys, okay? That is not what you're seeing when Shawn Baker is posting this bullshit about greenhouse gases. And it's not a combination of all greenhouse gases for his little chart. What he's looking at, if you look on the sidebar, it says clearly CO2, okay? Nitrous oxide has almost 300 times the global warming potential of CO2, okay? That's 296 times the global warming potential of carbon dioxide, okay? So also you have 37% of all the human-induced methane. So, and methane is 23 times the warming potential as CO2, okay? So you can see that this is totally biased and inaccurate for Shawn to even say, you know, greenhouse gases as a whole. He should really be more specific and talk about CO2, okay? Ammonia is another thing we need to work out, and that is 64% of all the ammonia is caused by animal agriculture, and it contributes to acid rain, which obviously is not a good thing. So again, you have to take into consideration, not only is the population exploding right now, but meat. I mean, I know us vegans are really excited. There's a lot of people going vegan, a lot of, you know, dairies being shut down and all of this stuff, but global meat production is still expected to more than double, and so is meat and dairy. From 2000 to 2050, approximately double is their expectation. So you can see that this is obviously mind-bogglingly, completely fucking unsustainable, okay? So, and then like I said, you have all these other aspects that are not even included in a lot of these reports. Livestock uses 30% of the Earth's surface, okay? And when you look at how much land we actually have for agriculture in general, you know, it's outrageous, especially when children are dying all over the place for not having enough food. It's just ridiculous. And then you take into consideration in Latin America, for instance, 70% of former forests are now grazing land. This is not okay. This is not just bad because of, you know, cutting down the rainforest, the biodiversity, all of these potential cures for cancer being lost, things that we haven't even discovered yet being lost, animals not being able to live, all of this stuff. But then you have to consider they're terrorizing this land. It's not just like, oh, little happy cows eating and then they're just living there forever. No, they've got to destroy the land and then move on to the next land because it's completely fucking degraded. Can you see now how this is completely fucking unsustainable? Okay. So 70% of the forest lands are being changed into grazing lands, and then 20% of the pastures are already degraded. At the time, this was 2006. So overgrazing, it's one of those things, it's probably one of the worst things you can do to the land. You're not able to use it after that. The topsoil is gone, all of it. Obviously, that's not good for the rest of the environment either if you can't even grow anything there. So, and then like I said, you have the waste that comes out of these farms and stuff is so great. I mean, a regular CAFO operation, a farm, I mean, I don't even know the statistics on this, but a farm is, you know, has more waste than a whole city. I mean, we're thinking about 2-ton cows or however big they are and how much poop. And they're also exhaling CO2, which is also not included in the EPA's report. So, because they are assuming that it's counteracted by other things, which sounds like a big leap to me. But you have antibiotics, you have hormones, both added and, you know, regular. You've got, like I said, the poop, the cesspools, it's horrible. And there's a video about what happens when the hurricanes come through this. It's not pretty, you guys. When there's flooding, this is not the way it's supposed to be. It's not natural. This is not the cycle of life. And it's not sustainable. So stop acting like, oh, but I eat grass-fed beef, so mine is sustainable, because it's not. And I love how people call vegans elitist, because Grass-fed beef is like the most expensive thing. And it takes up more land. Like I said, chemicals from tanneries, fertilizers, pesticides for the crops. And before you say, oh, but those crops are going to feed the vegans, no. The vast majority of crops that are grown are fed to the animals to feed to the people who are eating them. So it just doesn't really make any sense. So I just had to get on and share this with you guys because it's been on my mind. I've been meaning to talk. I've been speaking out a lot about Shawn Baker. He never replies on my Twitter, so please Twitter him. He's S. Baker, MD, even though his medical license has been taken away and has been for quite some time, I believe. So help me tweet him. I'm not blocked yet. Like I said, he just seems to be ignoring everything I post. But if enough people start to share this video or share these stats, share this information, I just really feel like please share. It's not okay for them to get away with lying like this. And it's not okay for people to be confused. It's not okay to have this misinformation, disinformation. And I hope I made it clear enough for you guys. I'll probably talk about this in the future because, again, I'm telling you to share and scream it from the rooftops. And so that's what I'm going to do as well, because I actually did go vegetarian in the first place for the environment. So it's very near and dear to my heart. You know, if we fuck up the environment, it's not like the earth is going to die. First, the animals are all going to die. We're going to die. So if you care about your health, you know, then you need to be worried about the environment. If you care about the animals, you need to be worried about the environment. It's all connected. So that's why I always say vegan for everything. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any questions. Have you done any research? Have you heard anything else in addition to or in conflict from what I've said here? I will post links down below, also KlaireeBerry.com. If you go there and search, I've got a lot of different studies posted up there about different topics, including the environment. So, and I'll post some more, I think, after this, because I probably don't have as many as the health issues. But yeah, to me, just completely undeniable. It's absolutely crazy. And just think about all the pollutants, the pesticides, the just everything that gets stuck in the fat is not only coming to the people when they eat them, but all of the waste products is going back into the earth again. So it doesn't, the stuff just doesn't go away. And you know, when you have pets, even the pets are eating this stuff. I noticed my dog has way better digestion on a vegan diet because you're not having all of these extra things. You know, you're not having cows that are eating chickens and pigs, downer chickens and pigs, and other probably cows as well. They're still putting blood meal in the food, even though they're not supposed to. They put candy and shit in these animals' food. It's ridiculous. And then the, like I said, the pesticides, the chemicals, the hormones, the antibiotics, all of it on top of that, and just regular pollution that we have is getting absorbed into the fat. It just, they're collecting and absorbing more pollutants, contaminations, etc. In addition to all the other stuff that's already making you sick, saturated fat, IGF-1, cholesterol, yada, 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 the list goes on. So it's not even good for our bodies anyways, but then when you add in that stuff and then feed it to your dog or feed it to yourself, it's not good. And people try to say, oh, paleo, well, guess what? They didn't even eat cows back then. They didn't even have cows. Those types of animals have a vastly different consistency than do these types of animals. And they weren't raised in the same way. They weren't crammed together with diseases getting together. You know, they weren't eaten in this high of a quantity either. So it's just crazy. Anyway, before I get any more off topic, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Thumbs up, thumbs down, stay subbed. Please share. Thank you so much. Take care. Don't forget to eat your fruit. Talk to you later. Bye.